Hi, and welcome to a tutorial on how to create a custom deck in Tabletop Simulator. In order to create a custom deck, you're going to need a couple of things. First, you have to own and have installed Tabletop Simulator. Second, you need to have access to a file sharing website like Imgur. And third, you need to have Steam opened up on your computer. In order to create the custom deck, first we need to find the modding elements that are part of the software that you installed when you got Tabletop Simulator. Here, I'm on Library on Steam, and I own Tabletop Simulator. If I right-click it, I have the option to go to Properties. After Properties, Local Files gives you access to browse local files on your system. In the Tabletop Simulator folder, there is a modding folder. When you open that, there are two main options for creating your own custom decks. First, you have access to card templates. These card templates can be opened in a program like GIMP, InPaint, Photoshop, or the like. You can customize the template to include particular cards that you are going to be using in your custom deck. I prefer to use the deck builder that's within the folder. When you open Deck Builder, there's a jar file. As long as you have the latest version of Java, you'll be able to open that up and create a custom deck using this software. The Deck Builder makes the process a little bit more automatic than using the templates. I'm going to create a new deck in the Tabletop Simulator Deck Builder. In order to do that, you have to have some JPEG files. I've got my cards off to the side. The cards that I'll be using for this particular tutorial are from a game called Welcome to Reckoning by Mike Helm. It's currently entered in the 54 card contest on BoardGameGeek. The first deck that I'm going to build is going to have the exact same back for each one of the cards. I'm going to select those and I'm going to drop them into the Tabletop Simulator. Once the pictures are loaded in, I like to double check to make sure, and because my files are so large, I have to go to 25% to do it. This particular template is laid out on a grid. It has 10 columns and 7 rows for a total of 70 cards. If I scroll over, I can see 10 of my cards. Scrolling down, I can see that I have a total of 3 to 4 rows, and any of the card spaces on the template that are not filled in show up as a black field. Once this is completed and you're satisfied with the cards that are going to be part of your deck, you must export them into a JPEG image. Go to File, click Export Deck. If you attempt to export the cards and the file is too large, the software will give you a warning that you've attempted a file that is too large. I'll try to save this as Reckoning, and I know that it's not going to work because it is indeed too big. It's going to take a moment for it to do so, and in the meantime, I'm looking for a deck of cards similar to this. They'll be laid out on the template. Let's go back to the deck builder and see what it has to say. It's generally a really good sign when it takes a while that it is indeed going to yell at you that it's run out of memory and we're trying to save a file that is too large. The export has failed for me, and I can't open this because this file is actually empty. So I'm going to pitch it and I'm going to try again. I actually know that this time around, the 200 that I am setting it at, which has decreased the size of all the files, is also going to fail because of a glitch, but I want you guys to see it so that in case it happens to you, you don't get too frustrated. I'll try to save this. It's going to tell me that this file is also too large, but I know that that is not in fact the case. It's a glitch. Once I close this out, go back to File and Export Deck, I know that 200 is going to work. With the files that I'm using and the size that they are, 200 is the right one for me. So I'm going to click export. I'm still going to call it Reckoning. It's going to go to my desktop. I'm going to save. And this time it will indeed work. And now my deck has exported successfully. I'll open up the file and I'll see that they are laid out in a 10, in my case it's a 10 by 4, the template itself is a 10 by 7 grid. Now, I'm going to close this out because I don't need it anymore. I won't be adding or subtracting any cards from this particular deck. If you think you're going to be fiddling around with cards in the deck, then you will want to save it. For me, not the case. So now I have my cards built. I've got them on the template. Tabletop Simulator will not create a custom deck using files from your desktop. You must host them online. In order to do that, I use Imgur. It was a suggestion on one of the boards that I read, and it's always worked for me, so I've had no reason to use anything else. If you use an alternative image hosting site, then it's likely the case that you'd be able to use that too. I'm going to go to New Post, and I'm going to drag the files that I've just created. Once it's loaded up, it's going to be important for me to grab the link to this particular file, and that's how Tabletop Simulator will know what my deck should consist of. All right, I've got that saved. I've been tricked by this particular link in the past. It does not work. Don't fall for it. Open up your images. Go to the file that you just saved. Look at the bevy of options that you have, and for me, direct link is the one that always works, the one that ends in JPEG. So now that I've got my fronts done, I want to worry about my back. I'm going to go to New Post. For this particular deck, all of the card backs are exactly the same, so I do not need to use the deck building software. I just need to upload the back that I'm going to use. I'll go to my images, and I'll have this one up and ready to get the link once I've pasted the first one. Tabletop Simulator is open. I'm going to create a single player game. I am not loading up a game, I'm creating something new. I'm going to go to Objects, where I can do things like change the table that's in use and create custom components, one of them being cards. Select Cards, select Custom, and then I'm going to paste the faces that I have uploaded to Imgur. I'm going to go back to Imgur and I'm going to get the back copied. And there is a URL slot for the backs. My backs are not unique. Every single card has exactly the same back on it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to worry about my width, height, and number. The number of cards that I created, I can see that on my template. 10, 10, 10 plus 6 is 36. So I'm going to toggle that down to 36. And I'm going to make a mistake as an instructional aid. It seems like every time I reteach myself how to make a custom deck, I make this error, and then it takes minutes for me to figure out what it is that I'm doing wrong. I'm always tempted. This is 10 by 4. 10 by 4 are what my cards are laid out as. Let's see what happens if I make this 10 by 4, because clearly that is what makes sense in my brain after months of not doing this. 10 by 4, 36 cards, my fronts and my backs. I import, I take a look at my deck, and I can tell almost immediately the aspect ratio is goofy. Something terrible has happened. My cards have not sliced correctly. In fact, the back of the deck has entirely black, so that's not good. That's not what I wanted my deck to look like. It's miserable. It's miserable every time I do it. So I'm going to delete that deck. I've obviously made a mistake. I'm going to go back to Components, Cards, Custom. I'm going to put my back in, I'm going to grab my front again, and I'm going to try this one more time. What size is the actual template, not the cards that I've cut? It's actually 10 by 7. So that's what I'm going to fill in for the Tabletop Simulator. 10 by 7, 36 cards. I'm going to import it. And yes, now my aspect ratio is looking pretty good. And my cards have cut perfectly. White borders and all. Everything's looking really good. Okay, so I've created a deck that has the same back on each one of them. I'm going to slide that over to the side, and now I'm going to create a deck that has different backs on each one. You'll notice on my Imgur, I have several images already uploaded for when I built the game proper. And some of those images are a small deck of cards that has unique fronts and backs. So that's what I'm going to use. How did I create these images? I used the Tabletop Simulator deck builder software. So I've got this, and I'm going to copy that direct link. These are actually the backs of the cards. So I'll go to Tabletop Simulator. I'm going to create a second custom deck. I'm going to put in this back. These are, in fact, unique backs. There is a different back for every card. I'm going to go back to Imgur. I'm going to get the faces. They are right here. Copy that out. Go to Tabletop Simulator, put it in. There are actually only 8 cards here. It's still on the 10 by 7 template that the deck builder uses. And I'm going to import it. These cards are looking like they are the correct ratio. Just double check them. That's the Mine on Fire and Not on Fire. The Assayer on Fire and Not on Fire. All of these backs are, in fact, unique. One more. Oh, this card does have a same back as the front, but I've laid out the file to account for that. So that's it. If you want to create cards in Tabletop Simulator, you'll need Tabletop Simulator, a file sharing site, and Steam to get to your local files. That's it. I hope you have fun creating your own custom decks, and I do hope that this tutorial was useful.